The alien girl, labeled cursed, chose a human as her guardian. The sky was filled with soft blue clouds that shimmered like liquid glass. From up here, the city looked calm, but she knew the truth. Down below, whispers followed her wherever she went. She was the cursed child. Ever since she was born, the other aliens avoided her. Some called her unlucky. Others said she brought danger wherever she went. Her parents had tried to hide her away, but the whispers could not be stopped. The elders of the city claimed her energy signature was different from all others, and that difference marked her as cursed. Lyra did not know what a curse truly was, but she felt its weight every day. People gave her strange looks, and even the children ran away from her. She wrapped her small arms around her knees and watched a group of alien kids play near the floating platforms. They laughed and shouted, their voices bright like bells. She had once tried to play with them, but as soon as she stepped near, their laughter turned into screams. "Get away from her," one had yelled. Since that day, she had learned to stay hidden. Lyra's only companions were the small machines in the observatory. They were old, dusty devices, but they could answer her questions and teach her small things about the world. She spent hours reading about stars, planets, and the strange histories of her people. She was smart, far smarter than most children her age, but it did not help her make friends. One morning, as the sun's pale pink light spread over the city, a new sound reached her ears. It was the sound of human voices. Humans were rare on Lyran 5. Only a few traveled here for work or exploration. She had never seen one close before. She peeked through the large glass windows of the observatory and saw a tall man with dark brown hair and a kind face talking to an alien merchant in the market below. He wore simple clothing, not like the fancy robes most alien visitors wore. Lyra felt curious. Something about him was different. He did not seem afraid of the city or the people, and he did not seem to judge. Most humans she had read about were clumsy and careless, but this one moved carefully, watching everything around him. Later that day, she decided to leave the observatory. It was risky. She did not usually go into the market, but she wanted to see the human again. She moved carefully, her small feet light on the metallic walkways. She hid behind stalls, behind floating carts, and behind tall crystals that glowed faintly. Finally, she saw him again. The man was helping an old alien merchant fix a broken device. He spoke softly, asking questions and listening carefully. Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. He was kind and she wanted to meet him, but she was afraid. What if he left when he saw her? What if he laughed like everyone else? Before she could decide, a group of alien children noticed her. They shouted, pointing at her. "There she is, the cursed one." Their voices echoed across the market. Some adults began to stare, their eyes filled with fear and suspicion. Lyra froze. She did not know what to do. The human turned quickly, seeing the commotion. He spotted her, small and trembling near the edge of the crowd. His eyes widened for a moment, but he did not look afraid. Instead, he walked toward her, carefully moving through the crowd. "Hey," he said softly when he reached her. "Are you okay?" His voice was calm and gentle, not loud or scary. Lyra hesitated. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. I'm fine," she whispered, her voice almost too quiet to hear. "You don't look fine," he said, kneeling down to be closer to her height. "I'm Ethan, what's your name?" Lyra felt a strange feeling. No one had asked her name for a long time. "Lyra," she said. "Lyra," he repeated, smiling. "That's a nice name. Do you want to come with me? I can help you." Some of the children laughed. "She's cursed." "Don't go near her," one shouted. Lyra looked at the human. His face was calm, steady. He did not run away and he did not laugh. She made a choice that shocked everyone. She took his hand. I want to go with you," she said quietly. The crowd gasped. No alien had ever openly chosen a human before. People whispered and pointed. "She is defying the elders," one said. "Humans are not safe." Ethan squeezed her small hand gently. "It's okay," he said. "We'll be careful together." From that day, Ethan became her guardian. He did not know much about her world, but he knew one important thing. No child should be left alone, especially one who was scared and misunderstood. In the days that followed, Ethan and Lyra began to spend more time together. He showed her small human tricks, how to balance on narrow ledges, how to hide in plain sight, and how to stay calm when others shouted. Lyra, in return, taught him little things about her world. She showed him how to read the energy patterns of the city, how small machines could sense hidden dangers, and how to listen to the subtle changes in the air that humans often missed. One afternoon, they walked along the floating platforms that connected different parts of the city. Lyra pointed out a strange plant that glowed softly in the shadow of a building. "It's harmless," she said, "but the other aliens avoid it because they think it's unlucky." Ethan smiled. "Sometimes people are afraid of things they don't understand," he said. "I've seen that on Earth too." Lyra nodded. She felt safe with him. For the first time, she felt that maybe being different was not something to fear. But not everyone was happy about their bond. Some adults whispered to each other when they saw Ethan with her. "Why is a human with her?" one asked. "She's cursed. He will bring trouble." Others shook their heads, warning their children to stay away. Lyra noticed the stares, but she did not care. Ethan had never judged her. He had never called her cursed or unlucky. He had simply accepted her. That acceptance gave her courage. One evening, as the twin moons rose above the city, Ethan and Lyra watched from the balcony of the observatory. The moons were large and bright, casting silver light over the floating platforms below. "You know," Ethan said, "humans are not very strong compared to aliens. But we have other things: patience, cleverness, and the ability to think in ways no one expects." Lyra looked at him, curious. Do you think I'm not cursed?" Ethan smiled. "I don't believe in curses," he said. "I believe in people, and I believe in you." Lyra felt a warm glow in her chest. She had waited a long time for someone to believe in her. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. People would still whisper. Others would still fear her. But she also knew that with Ethan by her side, she could face it all. That night, as the city quieted down and the stars sparkled above, Lyra slept for the first time without fear. Ethan sat by her side, keeping watch. She dreamed of flying across the glowing platforms, laughing with friends, and using her powers freely without worry. The next morning brought more challenges. As usual, the market was full of people, floating carts and merchants shouting their wares. Lyra tried to stay close to Ethan as they walked through the crowded streets. Suddenly, a group of alien children ran past, knocking over a cart of glowing fruits. The fruits tumbled in every direction, some rolling toward the edge of a platform. Lyra instinctively reached out, her small hand brushing the fruits. With a soft hum of energy, they stopped just before falling off the edge. The crowd gasped. Some were amazed, others were terrified. "It's her!" one woman shouted. "She's cursed." Ethan quickly stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Lyra's shoulder. "It's okay," he said calmly. "She didn't hurt anyone, she helped." For the first time, some aliens looked at Lyra differently. Maybe she was not just a cursed child. Maybe she was something else, something powerful and different. Lyra smiled at Ethan. She knew the journey ahead would be long. But for the first time, she also knew she would never be alone again. And as they walked through the bustling market, hand in hand, the city began to notice something unusual. A human and a cursed alien child standing together, unafraid, ready to face whatever came next. The morning light spread slowly across the city of Lyran 5, painting the floating platforms with soft gold. Lyra was already awake, sitting by the wide glass window of the observatory. Outside, the city was alive with movement, aliens hurrying to their jobs, merchants setting up stalls, and children darting between buildings. But Lyra did not watch them for long. She was waiting for Ethan. Ethan arrived carrying a small bag filled with tools and notebooks. He smiled when he saw her. Ready for today? He asked. Lyra nodded. What are we going to do? Ethan pulled a small map from his bag. I thought we could start exploring some of the older districts. They are quieter and you can show me more about your city. We'll go slowly, okay? Lyra's eyes lit up. She had always wanted someone to explore with, someone she could trust. Okay, she said, hopping down from the window. As they moved through the city, Lyra pointed out things Ethan had never noticed. Tiny plants that glowed in the shadows, strange energy patterns on the walls, and small machines that hummed quietly. These help the city run, she explained. Most aliens ignore them, but I like to watch. Ethan nodded, impressed. You know a lot, he said. I've never met anyone who understands the city like you. Lyra felt proud. No one had ever said that before. I like learning, she said simply. They reached a quiet district where the buildings were older and the platforms narrower. The air smelled faintly of metal and flowers, a strange mix that Ethan found oddly comforting. Lyra led him through small streets, careful to avoid the busy main paths. Why do you stay here? Ethan asked. Most people are afraid of you, Lyra shrugged. It is safer, they can't follow me here, but sometimes it is lonely. Ethan nodded. I know what you mean. Humans sometimes feel that way too, but we can change it little by little. As they walked, Lyra noticed small disturbances in the energy around her, tiny flashes of light that flickered near the walls and corners. She frowned. Something is wrong, she whispered. Ethan looked around. What do you mean? Lyra reached out her hand and a small wave of energy shimmered around it. The lights flickered more. There are people following us, she said. Not all humans, some aliens. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Do you want to hide or face them? Lyra thought for a moment. She wanted to hide, but hiding would not help anyone. She looked at Ethan and nodded. We face them. They moved quietly, slipping through narrow passages and ducking behind walls. Soon, two tall alien men appeared ahead, blocking their path. Their eyes glowed faintly and they wore robes that marked them as city guards. You, one of them said, pointing at Lyra, cursed child, you are not allowed to be outside, come with us. Lyra felt fear, but she held Ethan's hand tightly. No, she said firmly. I am not coming with you, the aliens frowned. Do you know who we are? The other asked. We enforce the laws of the elders, you must obey. Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between Lyra and the guards. She is not hurting anyone, he said. Let her go. The guards laughed, a cold and sharp sound. A human defending a cursed child. This will be remembered. Lyra's energy began to pulse around her, small but strong enough to make the guards step back slightly. Ethan noticed it and whispered, careful, don't lose control. She nodded, focusing on controlling the light that flickered from her hands. With a gentle push, the energy formed a small barrier around them. The guards stopped, confused by the sudden shimmer. Ethan seized the moment. We're leaving, he said calmly. He took Lyra's hand, and together they moved down a side alley, using small shadows to hide. The guards shouted after them, but they could not see where Ethan and Lyra had gone. By the time the guards caught up, they were gone, leaving only faint traces of energy behind. Lyra's heart was still pounding. I did not want to hurt them, she said quietly. I know, Ethan said, brushing a lock of hair from her face. And you didn't. You only protected yourself. That is smart, not cruel. They walked in silence for a while, catching their breath. Then Ethan asked, Lyra, how much do you know about your powers? Lyra shook her head. Not much. I do not understand them. Sometimes they happen on their own. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. Humans are like that too. Sometimes we have strengths we do not know. The important thing is learning to use them. Lyra watched him, feeling a little braver. Will you teach me? Ethan smiled. Yes, we will learn together. They reached a small garden tucked between two old buildings. Strange plants grew in soft soil, glowing faintly. The air smelled sweet. Ethan set down his bag and motioned for Lyra to sit. Let's start small, he said. I want you to try controlling your energy carefully. Can you make it small and steady? Lyra concentrated. A soft light glowed around her hands, pulsing gently. It was weaker than before, but steady. Ethan nodded. Good, now try moving it like a wave. Lyra extended her hands and the light flowed slowly, rising and falling like water. She smiled. I can do it. Ethan clapped softly. Excellent, you are learning fast. For the next few hours, they practiced together. Ethan taught her to control the energy with thought and focus. Lyra discovered she could move small objects, like pebbles and leaves, without touching them. She could even create tiny shields of light to protect herself. By the time the sun began to set, they had formed a strong bond. Lyra trusted Ethan completely, and he trusted her. They had not only learned about her powers, but about each other. As darkness fell, the city lights glowed brighter. Ethan looked at Lyra. You are not cursed, he said. You are special. You have powers that can help, not hurt. Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. Do you really think so? I know so, Ethan said. And together we will prove it to everyone else. Their peaceful moment was broken by a sudden noise. From the shadows, a group of strangers emerged. Their faces were covered, their clothes dark. They moved quickly, clearly not part of the city guards. Who are they? Lyra whispered, stepping back. Ethan's eyes narrowed. I don't know, but they are dangerous. Stay close to me. The strangers advanced, surrounding them. Lyra felt fear rising, but she also felt the energy inside her respond. It pulsed faster, brighter. Ethan took a step forward, calm and steady. One of the strangers spoke, his voice low and harsh. The cursed one is ours. Hand her over. Lyra shook her head. No, I will not go with you. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. You won't have to, he said. We will get through this together. The strangers lunged. Lyra focused all her energy, and a bright shield of light formed around them. The force of it pushed the attackers back. Ethan grabbed a nearby stick and used it to keep them at a distance. The fight was short but tense. Lyra's energy grew stronger as she realized she could protect both herself and Ethan. The strangers, surprised by the sudden power, retreated into the shadows, disappearing before anyone could follow. Lyra sank to the ground, breathing heavily. I did it, she whispered. Ethan knelt beside her. Yes, you did, and you were amazing, see what I mean. Your powers can protect, not hurt, and you are not alone anymore. Lyra looked at him and smiled. For the first time, she felt truly safe. She had someone who believed in her, someone who would never abandon her. As they walked back to the observatory, the city seemed less threatening. The people still whispered, but Lyra did not feel afraid. With Ethan by her side, she felt strong. That night, they sat on the balcony, watching the stars above. Do you think humans can be heroes too? Lyra asked softly. Ethan smiled. We can be, sometimes in ways no one expects, and sometimes we help others see their own strength too. Lyra nodded. She thought of the strangers and the city guards, and she realized something. Maybe being different was not a curse at all. Maybe it was a chance to be stronger, braver, and better than anyone had imagined. As the moons rose high in the sky, Lyra leaned against Ethan, feeling safe and protected. The journey ahead would be difficult, she knew. But for the first time, she believed that she could face it. Together, they would face whatever dangers came next, and perhaps one day the city would see her not as cursed but as special. And as the city lights flickered softly below, Lyra closed her eyes, ready to dream of a future where she was no longer alone, where humans and aliens could stand side by side, and where courage and kindness could change the world. The next morning, the sky above Lyran 5 was pale and soft, almost like melted silver. Lyra woke up early, as usual, peeking out the window at the city below. The platforms glowed faintly under the morning light, and the air smelled faintly of metal and flowers. She turned to see Ethan already awake, organizing small tools and notebooks on the floor of the observatory. Good morning, she said, smiling. Good morning, he replied. Ready for today? We're going to practice controlling your powers in a new way. Lyra nodded, eager. Her confidence had grown since yesterday, but she still felt a little unsure. Every time she used her energy, she felt it pulsing unpredictably. She wanted to understand it better. Ethan led her to a wide, open platform at the edge of the city. From there, they could see the floating streets, the tall buildings, and the shimmering energy lines that ran between them. "This is perfect for practice," he said. "It's quiet, and you have space if something goes wrong." Lyra focused, trying to calm her breathing. She lifted her hands, and a small pulse of light flickered from her fingertips. Ethan smiled. "Good. Now let's try moving it farther. Can you make it flow toward that wall over there?" Lyra concentrated hard. The light moved slowly at first, then faster. She smiled as it bounced off the wall and returned toward her. "I did it," she said. Ethan clapped. "Very good, now try shaping it. Can you make it into a ball?" Lyra hesitated, but then focused again. Slowly the light gathered, forming a small, glowing sphere that hovered above her hands. She was amazed. She had never done that before. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed across the platform. Lyra jumped, and the sphere flickered and disappeared. Ethan looked around. What was that? Before they could react, a shadow moved across the platform. 3 tall figures emerged from the edges, moving quickly. Their faces were hidden under dark hoods, and their eyes glowed faintly. Lyra's pulse quickened. She recognized them from yesterday, the strangers who had tried to capture her. Ethan stepped in front of her. "Stay close," he whispered. "We can handle this." The tallest figure spoke first. "The Cursed One belongs to us. You will not leave here." Lyra's hands trembled, but she refused to back down. "I will not go with you," she shouted. Ethan placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Remember your control," he said. "Focus. We can do this together." Lyra took a deep breath, closing her eyes. She felt the energy inside her grow, stronger than before. Slowly, a shield formed around them, bright and solid. The strangers stepped back, startled by the sudden barrier. Ethan grabbed a loose metal rod from the platform, holding it like a staff. He moved carefully, circling them with Lyra. "You won't get her," he said. The strangers lunged, but Lyra's shield held. She pushed outward with her energy, forcing them back. Sparks of light danced in the air as the energy clashed with their attacks. Ethan ducked under a swing, striking a small device from one stranger's belt. It exploded in a harmless puff of smoke, distracting the others. Lyra's hands glowed brighter, and she felt a rush of power she had never felt before. She realized she could do more than just block attacks. She could push the strangers away, move objects, even control the small energy currents in the air around her. The fight was chaotic, but Ethan remained calm. He shouted instructions to Lyra, guiding her movements. Together, they worked as a team. Lyra pushed, pulled, and shielded, while Ethan used his human instincts and tools to defend and confuse the attackers. After several tense minutes, the strangers retreated, disappearing into the shadows. Lyra sank to the ground, exhausted but exhilarated. Ethan knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You did amazing," he said. "I have never seen anyone control energy like that, especially someone your age." Lyra smiled, though her chest heaved. "It felt powerful, but scary too," Ethan nodded. "Yes, it is, but you are learning, that is what matters." For the next few hours, they practiced controlling her energy more carefully. Lyra learned to form small shields, move objects, and even float slightly off the ground using her powers. She felt a new confidence growing inside her. She was no longer just the cursed child. She was someone with strength, someone who could protect herself and others. As they rested, Ethan looked at her seriously. "Lyra, you need to know something. There are people in this city who want to control you, to use your powers for themselves. They will not stop." Lyra's eyes widened. "Why? I am not dangerous." "They see you as a weapon," Ethan explained. "And humans are unpredictable. They think you will be easier to control with a human guardian, but they are wrong. You are stronger than they expect." Lyra nodded slowly. "Then we have to be careful." "Yes," Ethan said. "But careful does not mean afraid. We will train, we will learn, and we will protect each other." That evening, they returned to the observatory. Lyra was tired, but her mind was buzzing with new ideas and plans. She watched the city below, seeing it in a new way. The floating platforms, the glowing lines, the tiny movements of the citizens, they all seemed alive, like a giant energy network she could understand. Ethan sat beside her. "Do you know what makes humans special?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, what?" "We are unpredictable," he said. "Aliens often try to follow rules to control things with logic. Humans, we can surprise them. We can think differently, act differently, and that can make us stronger than they imagine." Lyra thought about that. She had always been careful, always quiet, always trying to avoid attention. But with Ethan, she realized that sometimes strength came from courage, from taking risks, and from trusting someone else. The next morning, they were ready for a new challenge. Ethan had heard rumors of a hidden training area in the older districts, a place abandoned long ago. "It's perfect for testing your limits," he said. "We can practice your powers without worrying about disturbing anyone." They walked through narrow streets and quiet alleys until they reached a small courtyard surrounded by tall buildings. The area was empty, except for scattered debris and old machines. Lyra's energy responded immediately, pulsing softly at her fingertips. "Let's start," Ethan said. "Try lifting that small rock." He pointed to a smooth stone on the ground. Lyra concentrated and the rock lifted slowly into the air. She smiled. "I did it." "Good," Ethan said. "Now try moving it across the courtyard without dropping it." Lyra focused harder. The rock moved smoothly, gliding along an invisible path. She felt proud and excited. She had never moved something so easily. Hours passed as they practiced together. Lyra's control improved with every attempt. She could lift multiple objects, create shields, and even make small bursts of energy shoot from her hands. Ethan was amazed at her progress, but just as the sun began to set, a sudden noise interrupted them. Lyra froze. From the shadows of the buildings, figures emerged, more strangers, this time larger and faster than before. They had clearly been watching. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run!" he shouted. Lyra's energy flared, forming a protective barrier around them. The strangers lunged, and Lyra instinctively pushed them back with a strong wave of light. Sparks flew as the energy collided with the attackers. Ethan shouted instructions, helping her aim and control the energy. They worked together like a perfect team. Lyra felt more confident than ever. She could fight, she could defend, and she could protect Ethan too. The attackers retreated again, realizing they were not prepared for a human and a cursed child working together. Lyra sank to the ground, exhausted but proud. Ethan knelt beside her. "You are incredible," he said. "They will think twice before coming back." Lyra smiled weakly. "I hope so, but there will be more, won't there?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, but we will be ready. Each time you will get stronger and we will learn together." That night, as the moons rose over the city, Lyra lay in the observatory, her hands glowing faintly in the dark. She thought about the attacks, the training, and Ethan's words. She realized that being different was not a curse, it was a gift. A gift that could protect herself, protect others, and maybe even change the way aliens saw humans and their own kind. Ethan sat nearby, watching her quietly. "You are safe now," he said softly, "and you always will be as long as we are together." Lyra smiled, feeling warmth and hope fill her chest. She knew the journey ahead would be dangerous, full of enemies who wanted to control her. But she also knew something stronger than fear. She had a friend, a guardian, and a teacher all in one. And with him, she could face anything. As the city slept below, Lyra closed her eyes, imagining a future where she could use her powers without fear, where humans and aliens could work together, and where she would no longer be seen as cursed, but as someone special, brave, and strong. The next morning, the city of Lyran 5 was quiet in a way it rarely was. The floating platforms glimmered faintly in the soft sunlight, and a cool breeze carried the smell of metal and flowers across the streets. Lyra stood by the balcony of the observatory, looking out at the city below. She had practiced her powers for days with Ethan, and she was beginning to feel more confident. But something inside her told her that their real challenge was still ahead. Ethan appeared behind her, carrying a small bag of supplies. "Ready?" he asked. Lyra turned and nodded. "Where are we going today?" "I heard of a hidden chamber in the older districts," Ethan said. "It's supposed to be very old, from a time before even your city existed. I think it could be important for understanding your powers." Lyra's eyes widened. "Important? How?" "I don't know yet," Ethan admitted. "But I want you to see it, and if it is dangerous, we'll be ready together." They moved quickly through narrow streets, avoiding the crowded main paths. Lyra felt the energy in the city shifting as they approached the older district. It was quieter here, and the buildings were taller and older, with cracks in the walls and vines growing between the stones. Lyra felt a strange pull in her chest, like the city itself was guiding them. Finally, they reached a small, hidden doorway at the base of a tall building. Ethan pushed aside vines and debris to reveal a narrow stairway leading down. "This must be it," he said. "Are you ready?" Lyra nodded. "Yes." They descended carefully, the walls of the stairway glowing faintly with old energy. The air smelled cool and damp, and a soft hum filled the space. Lyra felt her powers reacting, pulsing more strongly than before. She realized this place was not ordinary. It was alive in a way she had never felt. At the bottom of the stairs, they entered a large chamber. The walls were covered with strange symbols, and the floor was made of smooth, black stone. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on it lay a small, glowing crystal. The light from the crystal bathed the chamber in a soft, blue glow. Lyra stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly. "What is that?" she whispered. Ethan moved beside her. "I think it's very old," he said. "Maybe from your ancestors. It looks like a source of power." Lyra reached out carefully. As her fingers touched the crystal, a surge of energy rushed through her. She felt a connection, like the crystal was speaking to her in a language she had always known but never understood. Images flashed in her mind, ancient cities, alien leaders, and children with powers like hers. She saw humans too, working alongside aliens, teaching them, protecting them. Ethan watched her closely. "Lyra, what is it? What do you see?" She took a deep breath. I think this crystal knows about me, about my powers. It is showing me things my people have hidden, things they never wanted anyone to know." Suddenly, the chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling and a loud rumbling echoed through the walls. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Something is happening. Stay close." From the shadows, figures appeared, more of the strangers who had tried to capture Lyra before. They were faster and larger now, moving as if they had been waiting for this moment. "The cursed one is ours," one shouted. Lyra's hands glowed brighter, the crystal responding to her fear and determination. Ethan stepped in front of her. "We will not let you take her," he said firmly. The strangers lunged, but Lyra reacted instantly. Energy burst from her hands, forming a protective barrier around them. Sparks flew as the strangers tried to push through. Ethan grabbed a nearby metal rod, swinging it to block their attacks and knock them off balance. Lyra felt her powers growing stronger, responding to her emotions. She realized she could control the energy more precisely than ever. Small waves of light shot from her hands, pushing the attackers back. One stranger tried to reach the crystal, but a shield of pure energy formed around it, stopping him instantly. Ethan looked at her, his eyes wide. "Lyra, you can do it. Control it. Protect the crystal." Lyra focused all her energy. The chamber lit up, brighter than before. She could feel the crystal guiding her, showing her how to move the energy, how to protect herself and Ethan. The strangers were forced back by the power she now commanded. Finally, the attackers realized they could not win and retreated into the shadows, disappearing before anyone could follow. Lyra sank to the floor, exhausted but exhilarated. Ethan knelt beside her, holding her hand. "You are amazing," he said softly. "I've never seen anything like that." Lyra shook her head, still breathing heavily. "I didn't know I could do that," she said. "It felt right, like I was supposed to do it." Ethan smiled. "You were, this place, this crystal, it was meant for you. I think your people created it long ago to protect children like you. They never understood that humans could help too." Lyra looked at him. "Humans help. Why would they?" Ethan shrugged. "Because sometimes strength is not just about power. It's about courage, patience, and understanding. That's why you chose me, Lyra, and that is why your powers feel safe with me." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. She had never felt so understood. "Do you think this is why I am called cursed?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "Yes. Your people did not understand your gift. They feared it, but it is not a curse. It is a bridge. You can connect your world with others and show them that humans and aliens can work together." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Then we have to learn everything about this place. We have to understand the crystal, my powers, everything." Ethan agreed. "Yes, but we must also be careful. There will be more people who want to control you. We need to train and prepare so we can protect ourselves in this city." For the next several hours, Lyra and Ethan explored the chamber. Lyra learned to focus her energy using the symbols on the walls, shaping it, moving it, and even storing it temporarily. Ethan helped her practice using small objects in the room, lifting them, moving them, and creating shields. Lyra felt more confident than ever. She realized that her powers were not just for defense. They could be used to help, to protect, and to understand the energy of the world around her. She also realized something else. Humans were not just helpers. They could teach, guide, and protect in ways that aliens could not. As evening fell, the chamber glowed softly under Lyra's energy. Ethan looked at her with pride. "You have learned so much today, and tomorrow we will learn even more." Lyra smiled, exhausted but happy. "I want to keep learning. I want to be strong enough to protect everyone I care about." Ethan nodded. "You will be, and we will do it together." That night, as they rested in the observatory, Lyra thought about the crystal, the chamber, and the images she had seen. She realized that her powers were not a curse. They were a gift, a connection to something much larger than herself. And with Ethan by her side, she knew she could face any danger, protect anyone in need, and show her people that humans and aliens could stand together. The next morning, they returned to the chamber to continue their studies. Lyra's energy pulsed with a new confidence, and Ethan guided her carefully, helping her refine her control. They worked together to understand the crystal's energy, unlocking small secrets each day. But the city below was not quiet. Whispers spread quickly about the cursed child and the human guardian. Some aliens were curious, others fearful. Ethan and Lyra knew that more challenges were coming and they would have to be ready. As they practiced, Lyra noticed something new. The crystal seemed to respond not only to her energy but to her emotions. When she felt calm and focused, the light was steady and strong. When she felt fear or doubt, it flickered and weakened. She realized that mastering her powers was as much about controlling her mind and heart as it was about controlling the energy itself. Ethan noticed the change. "Yes," he said, "your strength comes from inside, Lyra, and that is why humans are important to you. We can help you stay calm, think clearly, and make decisions when things are difficult." Lyra nodded. "Then we have to stay together, always." "Yes," Ethan said firmly, "always." As the sun set over the city, casting long shadows across the platforms, Lyra and Ethan looked at the glowing crystal. They understood that it was not just a source of power. It was a guide, a teacher, and a symbol of hope. And they knew that the real test was not over yet. More people would come, more dangers would rise, but together they were ready. And in that moment, Lyra felt something she had never felt before. Not fear, not sadness, but strength, courage, and hope. She knew that she was no longer just a cursed child. She was a guardian, a bridge between worlds, and with Ethan by her side she could face anything. The city of Lyran 5 was quiet before dawn. The floating platforms glimmered faintly in the pale light, and a soft mist rolled through the narrow streets. Lyra stood on the balcony of the observatory, her hands glowing softly. She had trained for weeks with Ethan, learning to control her energy, to shape it, and to use it for both defense and guidance. But today felt different. Something in the air told her that the real test was coming. Ethan joined her, carrying a small bag of tools and supplies. "Ready?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her small hands trembling slightly. "Yes, I think I am ready." Ethan smiled. "You've come a long way, Lyra. But remember, courage is not about not feeling fear. It's about facing it, even when you are scared." Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the familiar pulse of energy inside her. She had grown stronger, more confident, but she knew the enemies who had tried to capture her before were still out there. And today, she would have to face them again. They moved quickly through the city, keeping to the quieter districts. Lyra's energy pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat, responding to the tension around them. She could feel shadows moving, small disturbances in the air that signaled danger. As they turned a corner, a group of figures appeared. This time there were more of them, dozens, all wearing dark hoods, their eyes glowing faintly. They blocked the street, leaving no way forward. "The Cursed One is ours," one shouted. "Hand her over, human." Lyra stepped forward, placing herself behind Ethan. Her energy flared, forming a protective barrier around them. The strangers hesitated, surprised by the sudden display of power. Ethan looked at Lyra. "Stay calm. Focus. You can do this." Lyra nodded. She felt the crystal from the hidden chamber guiding her, giving her strength. Slowly, she pushed her energy outward, creating waves of light that forced the strangers back. The closer they came, the stronger her shield became. The leader of the group stepped forward. He was taller than the others, and his presence seemed to make the air heavier. "You cannot escape," he said. "We will take her by force if we must." Lyra's hands glowed brighter. She realized something new. Her power could do more than protect. She could move objects, control energy currents, and even influence the environment around her. She focused, and a small platform lifted from the street, swirling in the air like a miniature storm. It knocked the strangers backward, giving her and Ethan space to move. Ethan grabbed her hand. "Follow me," he shouted. They ran through narrow alleys, dodging debris and using the city's energy lines to move quickly. Lyra felt exhilarated and scared at the same time. Her powers were stronger than ever, but controlling them required all her concentration. They reached a wide open platform at the edge of the city. Below, the streets stretched far and the floating platforms glimmered like a web of light. Ethan looked at her. "This is it," he said. "We need to make a stand here. You can control the energy here. Use it." Lyra took a deep breath and let her energy flow. The platform around them glowed with light as she lifted stones, debris, and metal rods into the air. Ethan guided her, showing her how to focus, how to push, how to protect. The strangers arrived, more determined than ever. They lunged forward, but Lyra was ready. She pushed a wave of energy outward, knocking several of them off the platform. She lifted glowing shards of metal, swirling them like small stars, creating a barrier that no one could cross. Ethan fought beside her, using tools and clever tricks to defend and distract. He moved quickly, pushing the attackers into positions where Lyra's energy could be most effective. Together, they worked as a perfect team, human intuition and alien power, combining in ways neither side expected. One of the strangers tried to reach Lyra directly. She focused all her energy, forming a bright orb of light in front of her. The orb expanded rapidly, forcing him backward. The energy pulsed with her heartbeat, strong and steady. The leader stepped forward again, trying to break through. Lyra hesitated for a moment, fear flickering inside her, but then she felt Ethan's hand on her shoulder. "You can do this," he said. "Trust yourself." Lyra closed her eyes and let the energy flow naturally. The crystal's power inside her guided her hands. Light shot outward, forming a shield that pushed the strangers to the edge of the platform. Sparks flew as energy clashed, and the leader stumbled backward, unable to control the force. Finally, the remaining attackers realized they could not win. One by one, they retreated into the shadows, disappearing before anyone could follow. The city was silent once more, save for the soft hum of Lyra's energy and the wind over the platforms. Lyra sank to the ground, breathing heavily. Ethan knelt beside her, brushing hair from her face. "You were incredible," he said softly. "I've never seen anyone control energy like that. You saved us." Lyra smiled weakly, still exhausted. "I did it, we did it," she said. "Together." Ethan nodded. "Yes, together, that is what matters. You are no longer just the cursed child. You are someone powerful, someone brave, someone special." Lyra looked around at the city, seeing it in a new way. The platforms, the glowing energy lines, the people below, all of it seemed alive, connected. She realized that her powers were not a curse. They were a gift, a way to protect and guide, and with Ethan she could use them for good. In the following days, word spread quickly through Lyran 5. The cursed child was no longer feared. She was respected, admired even. Aliens who had once whispered about her now looked at her with curiosity, and some even came to see her for guidance. Humans in the city began to be recognized as allies, clever and brave, capable of helping in ways no one had imagined. Lyra continued to train with Ethan, learning more about her powers every day. She could lift objects effortlessly, create shields of light, and even sense disturbances in the city's energy. She became faster, smarter, and more confident. Ethan taught her about strategy, patience, and thinking ahead. He showed her how humans could use cleverness, intuition, and courage to face dangers that seemed impossible. Lyra realized that humans were not weaker than aliens. They were different, and different could be stronger. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Lyra and Ethan stood on the balcony of the observatory. The city below glowed with soft light, and the platforms reflected the moon's silver beams. "I think the city is changing," Lyra said softly. "People are seeing things differently," Ethan nodded. "Yes, humans and aliens can work together. You showed them that courage, kindness, and strength come in many forms. You did that, Lyra." Lyra smiled, feeling proud. She looked at Ethan. "I could not have done it without you." Ethan shook his head. "No, you did it because of yourself. I only helped guide you. You are the one with the courage, the power, and the heart." Lyra looked at the city, then at the stars above. She realized that her journey was only beginning. There would always be challenges, dangers, and people who did not understand, but she was no longer afraid. She had Ethan, she had her powers, and she had the confidence to face anything. In the days that followed, Lyra began helping others. She taught young aliens how to control their energy. She guided humans new to the city, and she worked with Ethan to protect those in danger. Slowly, the city began to see her not as cursed, but as a symbol of hope, courage, and change. Lyra also discovered new things about herself. She could sense small disturbances in the city, anticipate danger, and respond before anyone else. Her powers were no longer unpredictable. They were precise, guided by her heart and mind. Ethan watched her grow, proud of every small achievement. "You have become more than I imagined," he said one evening. "You are a bridge between worlds, Lyra. You show that humans and aliens can stand together, and that courage is stronger than fear." Lyra smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "Then we will keep going," she said. "We will protect the city, help others, and show everyone that being different is not bad, it is good." Ethan nodded. "Yes, always." The city of Lyran 5 began to change. Humans were no longer outsiders, aliens were no longer afraid, and Lyra's name became known as a symbol of hope. She was no longer the cursed child. She was a hero, a protector, and a bridge between worlds. And as the moon shone brightly over the city, Lyra stood on the balcony, her hands glowing softly, her heart full of courage and hope. She knew that with Ethan by her side, they could face any danger, overcome any challenge, and help the city thrive. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt truly free. Free from fear, free from the shadows of judgment, and free to be herself. And she knew that together, she and Ethan could change not only their city, but the way humans and aliens would see each other forever. And in that moment, as the city of Lyran 5 slept below, Lyra smiled, ready for a future full of adventure, courage, and hope. She was no longer cursed. She was powerful, she was brave, and she was never alone again.